Now, the rest of the story.
Yeah, Ryan's making a lot of noise over there. Well, Ryan and I, well, it was just Ryan and I not too long ago. We were just working on the cultivator. We went through, got it ready for putting down fertilizer, side dressing, and working down some weeds. You know, because it's kind of a all-in-one pass kind of a thing. Well, it really wasn't planning on working on it as early as we were. It just saved me a trip because I already had the tractor down there. So it just made sense to hook up to the cultivator and bring it up. Glad we did. Granted, it only took us probably 3 hours of working on it fairly consistently. The tanks had to be flushed. The orifices we went through, checked all of them, make sure they were good. We are running number 32 orifices through the cultivator, or on the cultivator. The planter, we're actually running 40s, so it's a little narrower openings on them. But we went through, we did a test, a rate test, to make sure that they're running consistently from on each end. They came out within less than 2 ounces of each other, and same thing with, I think, the third one from the ends. So that worked out really well. Went through, the filters in line are huge, because the first year that we started doing this, we didn't, or I didn't go take the time to put inline filters on this machine, and that is very huge. Just because of some of the products that we're running through this, it kind of turns like a sandy gunk, which I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, that's a valid explanation. I actually had a bunch of it built up from here to here that I cleaned out with some warm water. That's actually what this is right here. It's like a liquid sand. It's, you know, you can feel it's rough. The inline filter, this large filter coming in from the fill line from the tender tank, let's say that one does the lion's share of the filtering, but this smaller one that comes after the pump, I mean, it's kind of a cluster. I kind of messed up when I designed all this, but hey, it works. That's all I really care. A quick rundown of how this actually works, because I have people asking me how this cultivator is set up. I've had 2 or 3 people ask now, so let's just go ahead and cover it. First and foremost, coming from the tender tank, you comes in through here, this end comes off, and you hook the tender tank up to this, put that back on because my mom just found that cap. I just lost it, literally. Open this up, and when you run your tender tank, it'll come through the large filter here, out, then it tees off to each tank, so it fills up both the tanks. I did not put a check valve in line on it. I guess I'm just not going to take the time to do it. Just not going to fill the tanks up quite as full, and the fields that we're going in, I'm not too overly worried about it compared to the ground I was on last year. Well, a lot of it is the same ground. It's just, I know how much it's really gonna affect it, so I'm not too worried about it. But once you're done filling the tanks up, because they do fill up evenly, you shut this off and you're ready to run. When you start applying your product, it is currently turned on to the pump right now. I mean, this is another shut off, but it comes from this larger line back through here, down and around. I'm not exactly proud of that, but I am kind of proud of it. Yeah, it works. What can I say? Back down through the pump, it comes out. This is very important, guys. I would definitely put another inline filter on here, because even though you're running it through a filter right there, this one, I had to clean this out twice last year in season as I was applying our side dress. As it goes out and it tees off again and it goes down to each individual row, the orifices are right in here, and it's spread throughout all the rows. It's set up so if you're going through and your row of corn is right here, it is applying your product within 7 inches of the row, because I don't know how many people are actually aware of that, how many people that aren't ag related are aware of that, but corn roots really only reach, was it 7 inches from the plant? So when you're going through like with a coulter machine, you're putting the product down right in the middle of the row, it takes that much longer for the plant, the roots, to get to the product, and that's kind of a point of debate as to whether or not all of your product is actually getting picked up by the roots by the time it gets washed down through the soil. So I like this design largely just because it is putting it, for the most part, right next to the plant. I mean, I'm not worried about the plant missing this fertilizer as it's dropping out. These lines were a lot longer. They've broken from wear and tear and fatigue, and honestly, it's doing just as good of a job, because what I like about it is as it's dropping the product, it is in front of this tine, largely back when they were longer. And you know, I can't say that because some of these are longer. Let's go over here then. Let's take this one. This is how long they originally were. This is about how long they are getting now. But really what my plan was, my intentions were, and it did work, by the way. Yeah, I love it when a plan comes together. But what was happening, how it was set up, is that as it was being pulled through the field, it was being dragged behind like this, and as the tines and everything were working the dirt up, I actually set the cultivator back from the top link. I have the whole machine leaning backwards, so the front tines are just tickling the soil closer to the plant, because I do not want to risk tearing up my plants. These middle rows, they start to turn up a little bit more dirt. They're more of a weed, definitely more of a weed hitter. And then the back rows, they never used to be these sweeps like this, but I went this route because I like having these actually digging, actually down a couple inches, and what they're doing is that they're rolling the dirt over my liquid fertilizer, and it's keeping it from evaporating or anything else like that. So it's getting it covered in soil, and I'm really not all that worried about getting that, hold on here, getting that that shot of rain that is really important if you're putting your nitrogen on top of the soil. We are going to be going through and doing top dressing all of our crops. We are not side dressing everything. We aren't side dressing Dad's or Ryan's. Largely it's just me, and I do it because I like it. I do it because I like how it is getting the nutrients, the micros and everything else that we got mixed in with our tank mix. I like getting it in season like that because I do split apply. I do not put all of our nitrogen, all of mine, on at the beginning of the season. Dad and Ryan didn't either. If we did anhydrous, side dressing like this isn't as important, isn't as big of a necessity, because anhydrous is one of the better forms of nitrogen that you can put on that'll actually stay placed in the soil and available later into the season. We didn't do it. I think it's pretty well known that nobody got hardly any field work done last fall as far as tillage or any of that anhydrous applied. Same thing this spring. Sounds like it was pretty terrible as far as the lines and waiting to get a tank, like a tank a day, which for us, a tank was covering between 35 and 40 acres. So you're talking weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on if you can get more than one tank a day, to get all of our anhydrous on. It wasn't worth the headache, it wasn't worth the hassle. When everyone else was worried about getting anhydrous on, I was finishing up a tillage. So all of our chiseling did get done in a timely manner. And as far as the side dressing goes, all of our crops are up. They look really good. It's looking like it's going to be another week, give or take, yet. The corn is really starting to grow like a weed. The weather we've had right now, it's been in the 80s, high 70s, low 80s. I think it is 87 degrees Fahrenheit, where corn will actually, corn will actually go into defense mode, protecting itself from the heat. So anything below that, you're ideal. But it does get to a point where it can be too hot and humid where the plant switches over to preserving water. So I talked to my friend Ryan, and he said exactly that for how his corn looks from yesterday and today and how much is grown. It's a really thin window, really narrow window, as far as when you can actually go through and do this in a timely manner. For how some of the corn looks right now, I could go out and cultivate. My problem is I want to hold off as long as I absolutely can, and I'm probably going to be cutting it really close, and I want to wait until that corn is almost borderline, is getting to the point where it is starting to get a little too tall. Not going to wait so long that, you know, I'm going to have to worry about breaking off the plant at ground level, but I want to wait as long as I can before I go through and apply this side dress. So, all right, well, this is pretty well covered, I'd say. Anybody has any more questions, feel free to ask. Feel free to email me. I'll try to respond. I'll try to check it and try to keep up with everything else that's going on. Between getting hay made and doing this, we are staying, well, we're everywhere right now. So, all right, thanks for tuning in. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. Talk to you guys later.